What's up, everybody? This is Duke and Dan here once again. It's been a while since we've done any content. Get a swig of beer here, get some edge off, even though I'm talking to a stationary object.
This is our first thing that we've done for a long time. We used to do a lot of podcasts. We had a series that we did for about 20 some odd episodes. We thought we would give it a shot at making a video podcast.
Yeah, we thought so. We thought maybe, since, I mean, some people love the audio podcast, but there's a lot. Plus it's easier if we put them up on YouTube, so then for me to just upload the video podcast. Maybe we can, give you some visual aids and stuff and talk about stuff and watch us be nerds, and you can see some of the stuff around here and we can show some stuff off. We get some ideas on some future stuff if people actually want to watch it. If nobody's watching it, we're probably not going to continue to use our time around this stuff. So
hopefully you guys like it.
Hopefully you like it. It'll be a good time. We won't be too fucking boring. Also hide your kids because we'll probably drop some F-bombs.
Yeah.
Tonight we're drinking some Lagunitas, little something somethings. Pretty good beer. If any of you guys are beer aficionados that don't just drink Bud Light. But I guess without further ado, we're going to get moving on to our first segment. I think we're just going to talk about, kind of like everybody does, what we've been playing.
We've played something we used to do on our old podcast all the time.
Yeah, the old podcast, we would kind of have that same...
Go around the table, see what everybody's been playing.
And just kind of talk about it loosely. So we've kind of laid out some of the games here in front of us that I've been playing, and I think Dan's been playing some of them too. There's one other game that's not out here because neither of us own a physical copy of it, but that's Doom. So I guess we can start off by talking about Doom since we just brought it up. Doom's great. I'm kind of amazed at how good Doom is for what it...
Yeah, it sounds like it was in development hell for a long time. Like they made the whole game and it didn't sit well with everybody, so they just kind of trashed it and started right over.
It was, the original pitch was it was just going to be on Earth as a military shooter. It's basically Call of Duty with demons, which sounded awful.
I can see why they got rid of that.
So they kind of ditched that, and and I think that was right after they had finished Rage. They were starting on that. They finished that.
Well, Rage was kind of maybe, I don't know if it was a bomb, but it probably definitely did not do what they expected.
No, I don't think it did. I don't think it did terrible, but I think it was the end of Carmack being interested in making video game engines.
Yeah, he got kind of out of it after that, from what I hear.
Yeah, Carmack after that. Everyone knows Carmack's at Oculus with Facebook now, and the man's smart enough that he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants. Also, if it wasn't for John Carmack, we wouldn't probably have any of these in 3D.
No.
Because he kind of pioneered the 3D engine for video games.
But the thing I love about Doom in particular is it's kind of... It doesn't stick with today's trends. It went really back to basics. It went back to the original Doom. And it copies a lot of the type of formula that the original Doom, stuff like the original like Duke Nukem 3D, old style first-person shooters did. There's a lot of running and gunning, a lot of mayhem, a lot of chaos, a lot of decapitated body parts flying everywhere, blood and guts.
The one, I think the thing I love about Doom the most is it's complete antithesis to everything that's a shooter today.
The modern shooter? Oh, it takes that and rips its arm off and jams it down its throat.
And
it
says, fuck you. So the one thing, the biggest part of Doom is, I think there's two parts, is A, the level design is great. There's no more just walking down a linear hall and that's
there's
all you have
actually
to do.
A map. You actually have to pull up the map and look at it to figure out what you're doing.
Figuring out where you're going. You have to find the terminals, download your map data, and that's where you get all your secrets and all your extra power-ups. And it's kind of amazing because most shooters now are just straight down a corridor, look at this roller coaster, just kind of go. No thinking, no platforming.
And if there is a map, it's usually very small.
Very small, very kind of constrained. Also, the second thing I think on Doom is that, so the big thing in games now is that you need to hide and you need to wait and you need to let your reload your ammo.
Lots of duck and cover.
Let your health come back. This game says,
you don't do that in Doom.
Fuck that. If you need ammo, if you need health, go out there and get it.
Yeah.
Rip somebody's arm off, rip somebody's leg off, get the armor out.
Basically, the one new thing that Doom does is it adds these quote-unquote glory kills. And so basically what that means is like you'll shoot a demon and they'll be temporarily stunned and their whole body will glow like orange or I think it's blue or whatever. So that's when you go up, you hit the melee button, your guy's going to do like this really nasty, brutal, like finishing type of move. There's going to be lots of blood and guts, and as their body is just falling apart, health and ammo just falls out.
I think I read somewhere that there was 5 kills. There's 5 different animations per enemy.
And there's lots of enemies in the game.
There's a ton of enemies, and I think the game really starts amping up the difficulty in your enemy variety once you hit hell. Once you get hit hell, you start getting like the demons that fly around. You get the knights, and I can't remember all the rest of the names of them. And you get the little heads that float in the air. But that's when the difficulty really gets going. You really have to think about, all right, I need this gun for this situation. I need to unload these rockets on this guy. I need to switch to the next gun. I need to stun him with this plasma rifle, and then combo off of that and go into the next thing. And especially on the higher difficulties.
It's a whole different ballgame. I mean, I think the thing that I really like about it is this style of gameplay. For how simple and back to basics it is, it hasn't been done for a long time, so it feels refreshing. And for somebody like me, I don't really play a lot of first-person shooters. This is something that got me reinterested in it as a genre, really.
Yeah, so like, what was the last first-person shooter you played all the way through?
It's been well, maybe like BioShock Infinite, which isn't really... The thing with me is I don't really get into the realistic type of shooters. This, I mean, to me, video games is, it should be like escapism, you know? And something like Doom is more of a empowerment type of fantasy.
Yeah.
Because you're going around just crushing these demons all over the place.
And the opening is the best because literally, like, they're digging on Mars for stuff, and they accidentally pull you up and you're in a sarcophagus, and they open your sarcophagus, and the first thing you do is you reach for a demon's head and you slam it down, and you bust his head off on the operating table they got you on, and then you rip both chains off, then you punch the next demon's head off, and then you get a pistol immediately and you just start killing stuff. And,
there's nothing like that anymore. It's all of this like duck behind the wall and pop out every once in a while. But it's funny because the last Doom is very like polar opposite of this one too. It was more of a survival horror type of game. And this game, while like visually it's kind of creepy, like you're not really scared when you're playing it.
No,
because you're just ripping everything up.
No, because you're empowered. The one thing I like, I think the biggest difference between this game being a throwback to the old stuff and say something like the, Duke Nukem Forever, is that while you're a silent protagonist, right? So you're a silent protagonist, and he doesn't need to say anything. Everything the Doom guy does, is perfect because he doesn't say a word. He's just like, I'm really fucking good at my job, and my job is killing demons, and that's all he does. And it's great if you ever stop and read any of the stuff that they lay around, or it's almost like he's become like this god that...
Well, I've only played like 2 or 3 levels of the game. I've played like 6 hours of it. I played a good chunk of time playing it, just trying to find all the secrets. But that's a whole other ball game. I do have some questions about like the timeline in which this takes place. Because they pull you out of the sarcophagus, so it kind of makes you think it's the original Doom guy from Doom 1 and 2. But then, wouldn't this be the second time the demons have invaded Mars, or is this like an alternate Earth, or what's?
Yeah, or would it be? Because Doom 3 is supposedly like a kind of remake or retelling of the first game.
Yeah, and this kind of is also.
Yeah,
in a way.
So it is. Or the funniest thing I saw is if you look at the original Doom box art. It's got the Doom guy sitting there shooting down the demons.
Yeah.
There's another Doom guy in the background, like reaching his hand out like this. So some guy was like, "What if you're the Doom guy in the back that never got all the credit?" But
that would be awesome.
The badass that killed everybody.
That would be awesome.
It's probably nothing of a like. It's probably just some dude guy commissioned just drew the box art. But Doom's great.
I definitely
thumbs up out of me.
Both of us would recommend that you buy it.
Yeah. No, the multiplayer, I haven't even touched, but from everything else I've heard, it's not the reason to play the game and buy it. And there's plenty of other great multiplayer shooters out there
like
right
this
now.
One.
Like
This seems to be
Overwatch.
the second biggest game on DuelAnalogs right now. Everybody's
yes.
talking about it.
Second or first, because everyone's talking about Overwatch. Kind of the whole internet and the whole kind of all gaming culture right now seems to be talking about it.
I haven't honestly gotten that much of a chance to play it. Last time I played it was at PAX last year when we were there.
And there was only like not even half of the content
No,
that's in there now.
and it was a lot of fun as it was, even back then. But I've been watching Jimmy play it, my roommate, and it looks like a lot of fun. I just have not had the time to put into it. I know you played a lot more of it.
So I've put a good, probably about 25, 30 hours into Overwatch.
Damn.
Probably would have been more, but had some other stuff to do. So the one thing I like about Overwatch, when we first played it at PAX, I thought it was good. But I didn't think it was going to be as huge as it became, because I thought it was like, oh, this is pretty good, but it seems very Team Fortress 2-esque, right?
Well, I keep thinking about it, like there's one thing that Blizzard knows how to do, it's how to get people addicted on whatever game they're making at the time.
Blizzard's also really good at taking other games and other media and other culture of nerd stuff and taking it and distilling it into one package that's really good. So they took all the sci-fi tropes and they made StarCraft. They took all the fantasy tropes and they made Warcraft. Diablo was kind of a different thing. It was Blizzard North, so but Diablo is still a huge franchise for them. So Overwatch is kind of taken a
Overwatch seems like it has a little bit of everything from nerd culture.
Everything from nerd culture.
There's anime ladies, there's the cowboy, there's a sentient gorilla.
Yeah, the Soldier 76, who's basically looks like he's from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. I think the really smart thing is that they never showcase how bad you're actually doing. If you're doing terrible, the game never tells you that. Your asshole teammates might tell you that you're doing terrible and dragging the team down, but there's no stats for them to pull up to throw in your face to say that you're doing awful, right? So the only thing you could ever see is if you actually watch somebody do something stupid with your own eyes.
Oh, yeah.
There's no KD ratio, right, to pull up and look at. So it's a really fun game. It's highly recommended. On PC, it's $40. I don't think the Origins Edition is really worth the extra $20 for the couple of skins, and then you get Tracer for Heroes of the Storm, and you get a pet for World of Warcraft, and there's a couple of other things you get.
But it seems like you won't have trouble finding anyone to play it with right now.
Because they said they had
pretty much everyone I know is playing it right now, especially on DA.
Blizzard said it was their biggest launch of any game ever for Blizzard.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
They've already got 7 million copies sold in a week and a half.
That's nuts.
So it's crazy how much Overwatch is being played.
It's going to be a big deal.
I think Overwatch is going to be around for a long time. I don't know, like, there's some people that are saying it's going to be pushed as an esport. There's some that's not.
I think so.
I think it could be an esport.
I think that was the entire reason they made this game.
It could be. Oh, no, do you know the reason this game came from? So, Blizzard had their MMO Titan that they were working on for a very long time.
Wasn't that supposed to be the long-awaited sequel to WoW?
To WoW.
Okay,
Never happened. They canceled it. Everything that they started on in that game became Overwatch.
So a lot of it's like assets?
So it was assets, it was gameplay ideas. It sounded like that game was going to be... There's a huge story write-up that somebody on Kotaku, who's actually a good write-up, did about Titan and when it failed and what happened to it and why it wasn't any good. It sounded like they were trying to kind of make almost like a Destiny type of game before Bungie did.
And then Bungie beat them to it.
And Bungie, I don't know if Bungie beat them to it or if they were just like, we can't find a hook for players to really like this. Which I guess Bungie did because
so it eventually morphed into this.
It morphed into that. So they took what they had and their core gameplay, went into here, and they said, you know what, we've got a good game here, we've got a good idea, but let's focus it into this idea instead of another huge MMO. Yeah. Probably it could be that.
I think this is a smarter idea because, I mean, making a big open world game like that versus making something like this where it's like 10-minute matches.
It's a 10-minute match, so it's great. It's like if you got 10 minutes to play a video game before you got to go out to eat, before you get something else to do, right?
And people are going to start getting impressed with your skills, and I think it's definitely going to be an esports thing.
And the play of the game feature, I think, is kind of a brilliant idea. Although right now, I think it needs a little bit of tweaking because what I heard so far is it's based on it's either based on the amount of damage you've done or the amount of healing that you've done at once, which I think it's a difficult job for someone to figure out an algorithm to kind of figure out. I think plays of the game should be based upon what teammate contributed the most at a certain amount to win the game for you, right? So, but the problem with that, I think, is if you're on the losing team, you'll never have a chance to get to play the game, even if you did make an incredible play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very difficult thing to balance out. But I also think of other very difficult things to balance out is a way to bring this game, Ratchet and Clank, back into the PlayStation.
Well,
kind of
real quick,
lifespan.
I think we should. Would you recommend purchasing this?
Yes, Overwatch, $40 edition on PC.
Yeah.
Everyone I know is on PC, is playing on PC. I heard the console versions are good. They run at a solid 60. If you only have a console, go ahead and buy it, pick it up.
I'm not going to comment because I haven't played enough of it.
Yes.
But from what I've heard, it's good.
It's good. Yeah.
So anyway, moving on, Ratchet and Clank.
Moving on,
we both played a lot of that.
We've both played this. I'm at the very end. I haven't.
I played the game twice. I beat it twice all the way through
twice,
so that I could get all the weapon upgrades.
So Dan obviously likes it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with the game. I think they did a very good job of bringing it back into the attention of people, because I think at the end of last generation, Ratchet and Clank have kind of started to fade away after cracking time, because they made All for One, and then they made that tower defense game.
Yeah, people just didn't really care. I didn't even play those.
And then they made Into the Nexus, which I didn't even realize was a real Ratchet and Clank game until.
Well, I'll say I'm not a huge Ratchet and Clank fan. I mean, I've always enjoyed the earlier games, and I just generally enjoy platformers, which outside of Nintendo we don't get a lot of anymore. Outside of Nintendo and various like the indie 2D scene, there's a lot of that going around. But you don't see a lot of AAA platformers anymore from Sony, Microsoft, whoever.
Nobody makes character action platformers.
And this is a throwback to that, really.
Yeah, to that early PS2 era.
The two games I've played this year that I really enjoyed, Doom and Ratchet and Clank, are both throwbacks.
Yes.
So I don't know if that says something about modern game design, but
it could be.
Maybe I just don't personally care for the newer stuff.
Not to say all modern game design is bad. They've done some things, I think, to Ratchet and Clank to kind of streamline it a little bit compared to the PlayStation 2
it's
stuff.
definitely not as grindy as
it's
the PS2
not as grindy.
games
You
were.
do, because some of the PS2 games, it would
you used to have to sit in the arena for hours to get enough money to buy everything.
Now
and it's not really that bad.
I think you get enough nuts nuts. It's currency, right?
Bolts.
It's bolts, yeah.
Close.
Nuts and bolts, but whatever. So you get enough currency just through playing the game to get buy enough of the weapon upgrades, and I kind of like that card pack system they had. It kind of adds another layer, to it. And I was first reading it, I was like, I was hoping they were going to make a microtransaction out of a card pack, like every game seems to be doing right about now.
Oh, thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But I think the core thing that makes this game great is the platforming. Platforming is good. It's solid. Graphics are amazing.
Yes, it does look very good.
It looks very good for one of these games anyway.
Yes.
The shooting is kind of easy, I would say. You don't really have to be very good at the shooting part of it. But it's fun, and the weapons are varied enough that you never really get bored.
No, there's nothing that... There's a good variety of weapons. I think I've gotten almost every weapon except the new Rhino. I think I just
that takes a long time to get.
Yeah, I think that's the only weapon I don't have in the game right now. Other than that, I've got every weapon, and they're all they have that upgrade system. Function. Yeah, they have that upgrade system too.
Yeah,
which incentivizes
that's addicting.
you. Yeah, too, because you have it's kind of almost like the sphere grid system on Final Fantasy X. If anybody played that, where you kind of have this grid, just like the name says. You have this grid, and you get currency that you use to upgrade, and you go around a circle or the grid, and you pick up different upgrades. Like I want more ammo, I want more damage that comes with levels. But
I don't know if you knew about this, but after you beat the game the first time, you get access to 5 more levels of upgrades.
Oh, really?
So you can eventually max out everything at level 10.
10, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Very addicting.
So that's a good system, because I always love trying to vary up, maybe too much, kind of switch up my gameplay, because I don't like, if I'm already maxed out now at level 5 in the game, I don't want to use that weapon anymore, because I feel like I want to switch up and make sure I'm always getting content. But overall, based on what I've played, it's good. I haven't seen the movie. I've heard the movie's not that great. I've heard it's
okay. I didn't think it was as bad as people were saying, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's great. Like, I wouldn't say go out and see it.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of PlayStation or Ratchet and Clank, go watch it.
But I think maybe a Netflix, probably a good Netflix watch.
Yeah. It's very inoffensive.
Yeah.
It's not bad, it's not good.
Yeah. I think people probably got panned because people who didn't have any affliction for Ratchet and Clank
just didn't care.
Didn't see it.
Although another thing I wanted to mention is they released this game at $40 also. So
yeah.
both of these $40 games.
$40 games.
That's I like that trend.
Yeah, I like the $40 trend. That's a good trend.
It's definitely worth $40 for the amount of time I spent playing it. Yes. It's not a cheap looking game.
No,
like they clearly put some money into it.
Clearly put a lot of time in. I think that they were hoping, it was a kind of, this is your movie tie-in game now, because we don't really get a whole lot of movie tie-in games now because they seem to have all died.
Yeah.
So I think moving on to stuff that's died, Resident Evil Revelations 2. So I am probably one of the biggest Resident Evil fanboys.
At least that I know, definitely.
I have played pretty much everything besides the GunCon games to completion. And I've got to say Revelations 2 is one of the weakest entries in the series. I think it's got some good design ideas, but it definitely feels like a budget release, which it was. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, well it was a DS game, right?
No, the Revelation. The first one was a DS game.
That's right.
Because it was supposed to be a throwback to the kind of more of the scarier style of the first 4 games. Or by 4, I don't mean Resident Evil 4. I mean 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica. So it was supposed to go back to that, and it did a good job of that, and it kept that. But the game was difficult to play on the DS because of the single thumbstick.
I played a little bit of this game with Cody, my other roommate, and it seemed very obtusely designed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like it's almost it is the single player the same as the co-op?
The single player is the same, except you have to control both partners.
Oh God, that sounds awful.
But you have to switch between the two. When you're doing them, so you switch between the two. When you have to point at things, or you have to do a puzzle, or you leave one here, you have to call them back over.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But the problem is, no one wants to play this with you when you're doing co-op because the second player
just looks at stuff.
Doesn't get a gun.
No,
you don't get to fight anything.
You just get to look at stuff.
You get so the one girl gets a crowbar, and the other girl gets a brick, and that's the only.
Yeah. Well, when I played this, I was the second player, and the way that I entertained myself with this game is I made it very hard for the first person to progress through the game. Like, if you need to look around and find a key, I would just be looking around with the flashlight like, I just can't find it. I don't know where it's at. I can't see it.
So, yeah, if I can't see it...
Cody would just be like, it's right there! Yeah. You're like, nope, don't see it.
Nope, don't...
And then, just obviously, like, running into hordes of enemies on purpose and stuff like that.
So I was playing the game with a friend of the site, Scotty, and he was second player the whole time, and he was like, this is kind of boring. And then he finally got to the part where he has to control a little girl, and he was like, I don't really feel good about control this little girl. And then we realized that the second, so there's we keep saying this, so let's give a little bit better background. There's 2 parties that you control. One is Claire from she was in Resident Evil 2. She was in Resident Evil 5. She's in Resident Evil 6, and now she's in Revelations 2. She's one of her controllers, and then Moira Burton, which is Barry Burton's daughter, which Barry Burton was in the first game and is now in Revelations 2. So he's made it a long ways. And then Barry Burton and this other girl that you pick up, named, I think it's Natasha or Natalia, I can't remember.
It's been a while since I played this game.
She's so unforgettable, I can't remember her damn name.
Yeah.
And you play as her, and she does and it's, there's some good ideas in here, in this game, but it definitely feels like a budget release. It definitely feels like, because this game came out as $40, it was originally an episodic game, and then they just collected all the episodes onto a disc and published it. So, overall, if you're a fan of the series, I'd say maybe on a discount. I pay $10 for it, so I feel like with my $10...
You regret spending the $10?
No, not really. I feel like I've got...
At least you got some entertainment.
I've got some entertainment out of it, and I'll finish it.
Not great entertainment.
No,
but
not great entertainment. And I'll finish it because I love Resident Evil, and it's... I've always loved Resident Evil because it's one of my guilty pleasures almost at this point now for how the series is going.
Well, hopefully the next one that people keep talking about online happens.
Yeah, well, they have said they are completely remaking Resident Evil 2 from the ground up. They're redoing.
Well, we knew about that. I was talking about the other thing.
Resident Evil 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. They said they're going back, but they've said that. They
say that every time.
They say that every time. Yeah, they have said that. We're
going to go back to the horror style.
Horror style.
Yeah.
But a lot of what makes the original 4 horror are limitations on the hardware and the gameplay, not design.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have limited ammo, right? Because and you had limited slots because of the PlayStation 1 and the Saturn couldn't hold that many, inventory slots. You had the ribbons thing because I don't know why they did that. I heard that the game they had some weird limitation on the PlayStation 1 where you couldn't save that much. But it makes no sense to me because you had other games you could save plenty, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the reason behind the ribbon system and all that stuff was, but you had the tank controls because that was originally a game. That game came out before the analog controls.
Yeah, that's just how it was.
That's how it was back then, right? And then you only had the one enemy on screen, and it was slow because the game didn't run that fast, it ran like shit. And I had those creepy doors because it was loading in and out.
So a lot of it was basically by luck, is what. But
it was luck. I think a lot of that was luck on the original Resident Evil stuff. There's some. I wouldn't say Resident Evil 4 is a horror game, but there are definitely some tense and creepy atmospheric moments in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing in the dark, you can definitely have a few.
There's some jump scares there, but it doesn't. None of it. I don't think. Get your heart pounding like when you're out of ribbons and you're trying to beat a boss and you're out of ammo and you're knifing him, right? Because you wasted it all earlier. But on the overall, I'd say Revelations 2. If you're a fan of the series, pick it up on the cheap. If you don't if you're on the fence for Resident Evil, if 6 pushed you away, 5 pushed you away, there's nothing here for you. You're really not going to enjoy it. So just go your own way.
Real quick, because we are actually running out of time here.
So we got 2 other games that I've played through. We'll go real quick. Rare Collection, I'll put this out here because I started playing through. I've never played through the original Banjo, Banjo-Kazooie. So I started playing through that again, started playing it again, and the game is aged actually pretty decently. There's some decent...
I played that recently too on 360.
Yeah, the music's good, the character design's still pretty good.
At its time, it was a good collectathon.
Yeah, it was a good collectathon. It still is. They don't make a lot of games like that anymore, collectathons.
No, but we got Yooka-Laylee on the way.
Yeah, and that's from a lot of
there's definitely people trying to satisfy that niche.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to go back and play Banjo, don't play the N64 version. It's really bad.
So why do you say that?
The frame rate is terrible. The camera is so far in Banjo's ass that it's hard to see.
Butt.
Basically, you can't see anything that's coming.
Right.
And your camera controls are on the C buttons.
Well, the 360 version I didn't feel like I had those problems.
No, you don't. Because I immediately tried the N64 version because I was like, I'm going to play the original version. And it originally came out so I can see how it was, right? I started that and I was like, this is terrible. I was like, alright, I'm going to see if there's anything actually good in this game, and it's not the hardware that's pissing me off. So I got the 360 version, and it's good. It works fine. So I would say Rare Collection, if you have an Xbox One, there ain't a lot of that on that system, so pick it up because there's a lot of stuff and it's only $30.
Didn't you say you got it on sale for like
I got it on sale for $15.
I feel like that's a good deal. You get like, what, 20 some odd Rare games?
30 games.
That's a lot of games for $15.
There's a whole lot of game on here. Like I said, there's all the Banjo games, Rare, Perfect Dark, Conquer, Viva Pinata. The best Banjo game, Nuts and Bolts, as we all know it's Nuts and Bolts.
Right.
Because no other game can you make cars that look like penises and drive them everywhere.
Of course. We better actually wrap up.
So wrapping up, we got one more game real quick. Been playing. I am also a pretty big Tales game. Tales of. This is Tales of Zestria. It's the latest one to come out that we got here. I'm gonna say even if you're the biggest Tales fan, this game's a pass. It is the biggest anime trope.
That's what I've heard.
They did some stuff with the battle system where they tried to make it so it didn't load into a new scene and then you just fought on this thing. But the camera is so terrible, it gets stuck in walls or in characters' asses so far.